Happy Friday to you guys all. I think that it's come down to the least common denominator. We have two candidates that unfortunately Black Americans are going to consider. One is very, very unfortunate. On the other, I'm kind of in between. We should go one way or another to show power and positioning. So we have Joe Biden on one side, the Democratic Party, and we have Cornel West with the third party, the Green Party, the People's Party, the Independent, right? So he's running on his own ticket, but I think that we need to cover both candidates because more so than that, majority of Black Americans are going to lean independently or democratically. And in both of those, on either side, all the candidates that are running are not potentially for Black Americans. That doesn't mean leaving America without a presidential candidate, but none of them are concentrating their focus on the most aggrieved group in America, the most oppressed group in America, which are Black Americans. That is what they're not doing. And that's very important to note, okay? So as we get into the video here, we get into the broadcast, there are some things I want to put on the forefront right off the bat about these two candidates. And we're gonna start off with no other than good old Jim Crow Joe Biden. Now, from the very, very start, Joe Biden has told and shown Black Americans who he is for and who he really is. We don't have to go back to ancient old history about him signing, when he was the senator of Delaware, him signing some of the bills that mostly incarcerated, that really, really started mass incarceration of Black men and Black women, but majority Black men. We don't need to go that far back. We don't need to go back to his desegregating and not having segregation within the bus systems for schools. We don't need to go back to that, right? We don't need to go far back into that particular history, or even him making comments such as, I don't want my kids to go to those schools which are jungle schools because, okay, they were majority Black schools. So a lot of this history Black Americans have forgotten or have in some regards forgave, okay? That's the Christian part of Black American, that we forgive, forgive, forgive. And family, when it comes to your livelihood, there are some things that, in my opinion, shouldn't be forgiven, but nonetheless, here's Joe Biden. He had asylum officers and immigration judges to expedite processing time. We're talking about illegal immigration. Conduct credible fear interviews of people asking for asylum early in the process and provide legal services so removals can be expedited. Again, this is more legal power that he's using for illegal immigrants to make them nationalized citizens. Again, I want to ask my Black American family, what is Joe Biden doing for us? What is Joe Biden doing for you? But I guarantee you, other than him anointing and pushing Ketanji Brown into the Supreme Court office, which really hasn't made any difference to Black Americans, more symbolism. See, that's what we have to understand in these political parties. They do more symbolizing for Black Americans to gain and to coerce and to manipulate our vote. Because the one thing you're gonna hear people in all sects and all classes, monetary classes of Black American is, look what Joe Biden has done for Black America. And then you're gonna just start naming people who he has put in position that look like you and I. And then I'm gonna ask a simple question. What does that do for you? Because some people are going to argue that, oh, it makes Black Americans look better than we ever looked. Who cares about how we look? Because nobody really cares about how we look, because if we really cared about how we look, we'll be calling out the music industry, will we not? We'll be calling out the entertainment industry, will we not? How they display our people in music and on TV. And some of you like, oh, they're doing it on their own accord. No, they're being incentivized to look like damn fools, okay? Because again, we are the most oppressed group. There's a large wage gap between us and white America, but then also a wage gap between us and Hispanic Americans. And again, this is not anti any group. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Because when we look at this, here's another bullet point. Deploy 1,500 active duty military personnel to help Border Patrol with processing paperwork, not to secure the border. Why is this important? Now Black Americans are now coming around and like, wait a minute. Well, maybe some of those, and again, as a disclaimer, family, I'm no Republican, nor Democrat, nor independent. I'm just a black man that cares, right? Because this too is for me. I need to know this information if I decide to vote, where my vote should go. And don't listen, I hate to tell this because I know a lot of you guys are huge Michelle Obama fans, okay? You are Obama lovers. And again, I ask you again, what did the Obamas do for Black Americans? And matter of fact, Obama came out and stated during an interview and said, well, the reason why I didn't do anything that was solely for Black America is because of white guilt. That's what he said. He said because of white guilt. Okay. But besides the point, what have they done? And I know she came out with, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. Family, your vote is your voice. If you give up your vote, then you have the power and positioning of the candidate you want to promote based upon you and your people, because all these groups understand that unification is one of the most important things to get what your group of people need and what your group of people want. But we continue to vote for one particular party and we receive no results. There, in this last presidential run with Joe Biden won, he didn't promise Black Americans nothing. And he told Black Americans to our face, if you don't vote for me, you're not Black, for one. And then again, he told us when asked, do you support reparations for the descendants of American slaves? He started talking about immigration and how immigrants was the future of America. And Black American, 87% of us, okay, not me, but you, went out and voted for Joe Biden, for Jim Crow Joe. So, it states here, increasing humanitarian assistance in Mexico and Central America. So we're sending millions of dollars to Central America as well as Mexico. It says here that 23 million in additional humanitarian assistance in Mexico and Central America. This new assistance will help governments in the region response to the increased humanitarian protection needs of migrants, refugees, and other vulnerable population in their care. Where's Black Americans' money? Where's Black Americans' money? Because anytime they bring up welfare or EBT, we point out the numbers and statistics that majority of the people on welfare are white Americans. So that's not our reparations. That's not our government support. But again, they demonize Black Americans by depiction of showing us with all the major headlines. Like, I wish I had my phone on me, because within this group chat that I am, one of the guys posted posted a news story about abuse in Black American communities. And I'm so tired of us sensationalizing our own selves versus looking at the totality of America. Because just because we're posting things and sensationalizing things are not helping us. And matter of fact, I think it's denigrating us more so than ever before when we point out a certain statistic that the major statistic numeral value is largely in white American. And I'm not talking about simple numbers, because I know that white Americans outnumber Black Americans, but we're talking about the percentages based upon your population and demographics, which is very important, okay? So these things are not being told in its totality. So when I look at sanctuary cities, and then I look at the whole makeup of America, you know what I'm seeing? States like Texas, Florida, Alabama, Missouri, those red states. Now, even though I know that majority of Black Americans are not Republicans, but as you can tell, family, that these states are shipping illegal immigrants, undocumented, whoever, to these sanctuary states and these sanctuary cities. Let me show you the legend very quickly so we can go together. So counties are depicted in yellow, cities are depicted in red, and states are depicted in green. So when you see a green on here, that means that the entire state is a sanctuary state, okay? And if you see red, that's a sanctuary city. So of course, here on the East Coast, there's plenty of sanctuary counties and cities, this, that, and the other. And when we look, where have majority of the migrants been dropped off, okay? In New York, right? In Chicago. This thing's a little weird here. Give me a second. In Chicago, in Louisville, Kentucky, right? And then you have all these other different counties, Louisiana, okay, on the border, but you see none in Texas. You see no sanctuary cities in Texas. So when I look at Governor Abbott of Texas and I look at Governor DeSantis of Florida, the two things I look at is, are any of their cities sanctuaries? No. Is the state sanctuary? No. So by them busing them, because don't get me wrong, the Republican Party, this is a very devious political tactic because they're killing two birds with one stone. They're undermining black people because they're shipping these illegal immigrants and migrants to majority black populated cities and states. But at the same time, they're like Texas and Florida, Alabama, Missouri, we are not sanctuary states and we do not have any sanctuary cities. So on one account, they're right. On the second account, they have a double agenda, which I understand. I mean, we understand that the Democratic Party used to be the most racist party. They head of the KKK. And the Republican Party was supposed to be the party of the people, which we now know is the racist party of America. But believe me, family, you're looking at two wings of a white supremacy bird. It really doesn't matter. One pats you on your back, and at the end of the 4 years, or as we're coming up on the fourth year here, when you're going to start to vote who's president, they're going to pat you on the back. They may even put you in a car and give you a ride. But at the end, when you vote the Democrats back in, they're going to kick you in your ass. And then the Republicans, they're just going to ignore you. They're going to say a couple of things here and there. They're going to sensationalize a couple of mainline topics and headlines, but they're not going to give us any attention. They're not going to even make us any promises. So that's the only difference. And we have to wake up, and that's why a lot of Republicans are anti-woke, even though they know that is a term that black people have been using since the 70s, of being conscious about the situation and the dynamics in America in which black people are. That's basically what it is. And when you ask people online, white people, when you ask them, what does woke mean? Oh, well, LGBTQ and there's miseducation of Lauryn Hill. What? What are you talking about? They don't even know what it means, family. So when I look at a map like this, I totally understand why these states are not allowing the Democratic Party to push their illegal immigration policies within their states. That I understand. But then the dual agenda of the Republican Party is not to exacerbate and to exercise these migrants outside of their states, but it's also to undermine black people at the same time. So again, neither party, family, is for us. We need a candidate that we can use our power and positioning, and our power is within our vote, okay? And some of you are going to state that, well, our ancestors died, for us to vote. No, family, they died for us to have the opportunity and freedom to vote or not to vote. Don't feel obligated that you have to vote for the lesser of two evils, because guess what? You're still voting for evil. That's doing nothing for us, okay? Because here's the thing. Some of you are like, well, the next president, they are the American president, so they're not going to just be doing anything for any specific group, which we know is a huge, fat lie. Because Obama, as well as Biden, continue to give millions upon billions of dollars to Native Americans for reparations. We understand Obama and Biden gave Holocaust survivors and their descendants, does that ring a bell? and their descendants millions and billions of dollars. Okay, millions and billions of dollars. So let me just move some things to you so you can understand here. So Holocaust survivors begin New Year with more payments and aid. Let me scroll down here some. You're just going to see millions and millions upon millions and millions of dollars. And it states here, the Claims Conference is funding $375 million in aid to Holocaust victims in 47 countries. Okay, let's take it a step further. We have congressional legislation here that was introduced. So I know this is not money being paid out, but again, to amend the Old Americans Act of 1965 to provide social service agencies with the resources, that's money when it comes to them, to provide services to meet the urgent needs of Holocaust survivors to age in place with dignity, comfort, security, and quality of life. Now, I would like to believe for a majority of Black Americans, a lot of us grew up in the hood. A lot of us grew up in ghetto. A lot of us grew up impoverished. And we had to crawl, scratch, fight, and do all sorts of things to make a way out of poverty for those who have. But there's a great majority of us and a lot of your family members that still live impoverished, that still either live at the poverty line or below the poverty line. But you don't see legislation like that introduced over and over again. And for damn sure, you don't see actual money going to them. Not tied to EBT, not tied to welfare. We're talking about actual funding. Because when Obama was in office, they gave $12 million. And this is just the tip. This is not even the tip of the iceberg, okay? This is kind of the where the rubber meets the road, so to speak. Because Biden gave Holocaust survivors and their descendants money as well. And let me tell you what it states here. Again, yeah, the Holocaust occurred in Germany, not America. But because America is a powerhouse of monetary payments to any and everybody except the descendants of American slaves, those foundational Black Americans, AKA U.S. freedmen, we can give money to every other group except for the most aggrieved group and the group that built America. Again, with this award, we will be able to advance our efforts to provide crucial services to vulnerable survivors, including those living in poverty, those in the Orthodox Jewish community, and those from the former Soviet Union, okay? These are our mothers and our fathers, our teachers and our mentors, he said. They deserve to live their remaining years in dignity, and this award will help them make that hope a reality. Isn't it daunting, not shocking, but isn't it daunting that America can give, Obama can give millions of dollars to Holocaust survivors, people who went through a national evil, but not to someone who have, very similar ties. I'm a loss for words, because when you really think about it like that, it's like you can give another group from another country millions of dollars in reparations, but you can't give the descendants of slaves, the one who built the country and went through slavery, Jim Crow, Reconstruction, and even what we're going on today in America with the hate of Black Americans. And you still can't conjure up reparations. You can't even fathom reparation, and as Obama stated, because of white guilt. And Kamala, she just came out and said it. No, anything that we do for Black Americans, we're going to do for the rest of the country. And look how that turned out. They've done protection laws and executive orders and bills for the LGBT community. That includes everybody, right? Or for that particular group, because they treat them as a microcosm of a different demographic within America. They've done it for Asian Americans. They gave them protection. And all of these bills and legislation, family, comes along with money. Don't let nobody fool you. I did a video on that. You might want to go check that out. Now, here's something else I want you guys to take a look at as well. It says here, the U.S., too, has supported reparation as a form of restorative justice. After World War II, it supported, listen, okay, reparation It supported Jewish victims of the Holocaust in their demands for reparations from Germany and Austria. As recently as the 2016, the U.S. Department of State helped Holocaust survivors access payment owed to them by a French railways company that was accomplished in deportation. But the first thing is that they supported reparation as a form of retributive justice, okay? Money on top of money on top of money. And with this particular one, I'm not going to pay for the subscription, but anyway, it states here, U.S. awards $2.8 million to aid Holocaust survivors. And a lot of you are going to say, well, Ross, that's not a lot of money, but don't forget the $12 million. And don't forget they have a fund. Holocaust survivors here in America have a fund that the U.S. gives to them and their descendants each and every year, just as well as the Native Americans and their reparations. And again, when people say, well, when they give out reparations, Ross, it's to the aggrieved group, not the descendants of those groups. And I just want you guys to respond with Native Americans, because you think all the atrocities that the Native Americans went through during the colonization of America, you think they're still alive hundreds of years later? No, they're not. The descendants are alive. And they've made a bunch of treaties and laws with the American government, okay, by the way of the U.S. Bureau of Indian Affairs Office. So that's why I support when a candidate like Marcel Dixon states that we should bring back the U.S. Freedmen Bureau, right? We need an organization to handle reparations, land grants, and all the things and protections that Black Americans are owed, not deserve. Okay, not deserved. Let me move on. The Obama administration is for the first time proposing to spend as much as $15 million to help needy Holocaust survivors in the United States, 25% of whom live below the federal poverty line. Now, where was that $15 million? I know Obama wasn't president. When I was young, standing in the welfare line with my mother, getting the government cheese. Remember the farina? Remember the powdered eggs family? Remember all those things? Where we wasn't even eating real food. And this was back in the 80s and early 90s. We wasn't even eating really food. I'm surprised I don't have cancer yet. We was eating all the powdered stuff. The only thing that people would talk about to this day that was very delicious was the government cheese. And we don't just say government cheese, we say government cheese, don't we? But nonetheless, let me move on. There's a lot to cover here, because I want to get to who is the most impoverished group in America. They're stating here that 20%, 18.8, I rounded up, 20% of Black Americans live below the poverty line. And this number will be a lot larger if it wasn't for EPT and welfare. But on the same instance, if you have a job, let's say working part-time for Walmart, and you don't have a child, and you're not a woman, you're not a female, then those numbers are not depicted in these statistics. But guess what? You live below the poverty line. You probably have a roommate. You probably live in a low budget, low income area, roach infested, or some sort of discrepancies with your apartment. But again, maybe some of you don't remember.
But I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't Black.
The comment.
That part. And, you know, I was going to keep playing that over and over again just for have some sort of effect on you guys. But we already know, don't we? We already know, because at the end of the day, you know and I know that you guys are not even considering any Republican candidate. Me either. I'm not considering none of them. The two candidates that Black Americans are really considering, let's just be real, family, you're still thinking about good old Joe, aren't you? And then you're also thinking about my dear brother, Cornel West. Cornel West. And as I stated before, Texas and Florida, they're still up to their old tricks. Governor Abbott announced the arrival of the first group of migrants bused to Los Angeles, California from Texas. The migrants were dropped off at Union Station. And I'm not laughing that the people are being used as political chips to sway the pendulum one way or another. I am not talking about I'm not laughing at these people, but this is what Republicans do to undermine Black Americans. Even though that the population of Black people in LA has dropped significantly. I think what the population of Black Americans in LA now is what, about 4 or 5%? No more than 8%. Last time I looked at the numbers, no more than 8%. So the population of Black Americans living in LA has dropped significantly. As a matter of fact, in the whole state of California has dropped significantly. They've been using these illegal immigrants and Hispanic groups as buffer groups to really push out Black Americans. And we are now just waking up to this. When I say we, I'm talking about as a conglomerate group, okay, as a Black American community, we are now just waking up to this. But there's been people in this space pounding the drum, trying to wake us the hell up and for us to understand the bigger agenda at hand. Now, in my opinion, and I've heard other people within the space are basically saying, if Black Americans do not get it right when it comes to voting this time, if we don't start applying pressure, and applying pressure is very loudly and very publicly coming out and stating, if you do not have reparations on your ticket, you will not get our vote. That's the only thing, family. People believe that reparation is free money or is going to take away from the taxpayers or is a government handout. No, it's money that is owed. When it comes to Native Americans, why nobody brings this up? They're getting government handouts. Their entire budget is from the federal government. That's coming from your tax dollars. Why nobody brings up when Holocaust survivors receive millions and billions of dollars from the American government, let alone other countries from around the world? I just showed you where 47 countries are giving Holocaust survivors reparations. But when it comes to us, oh, that's public assistance. We don't need none of that. And I'm not just hearing white Republicans, but I'm hearing Black people too. Here's my thing. If you're good with your finance, if you're good with the amount of money that you have, the amount of money that you earn, the amount of money that you make, regardless, just shut the hell up. Because majority of your people are living in squalor in this country, the most powerful country in the world, the country that your ancestors built for us. That's the most shocking thing to me. That's the most shocking thing for me.
Growing migrant crisis in the U.S. as Republican governors spend taxpayer dollars to send asylum seekers to Democratic-led cities. Tonight, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis said he is not backing down and will use, quote, every penny of the $12 million state fund to transport migrants from the border to other states. Here's CBS's Elaine Quijano.
They're on the move again. This morning, 48 migrants who landed on Martha's Vineyard Wednesday left a church shelter during an emotional send-off from volunteers.
They're in my heart forever. Bye.
The asylum seekers voluntarily continued.
Have you noticed when these Republicans, Rhonda Satan and Greg Abbott, ship these migrants off to Martha's Vineyard? Martha's Vineyard is a very affluent, rich neighborhood. And now the people who I guess was giving them some care, some support, some assistance, they're crying that the migrants are leaving for the military base. But they're not showing the people in the background like, they ain't gonna bring down our property value. No, they're not showing that. But you see how they're leaving Martha's Vineyard. Did they do that in New York where they took these illegal immigrants that was dropped off in these central areas within New York? Did the American government come and pick them up and ship them to military bases? Or do they allow Mayor Adams, the Black mayor, to handle it? Then have Mayor Adams to cry out about all the support and money he needs. Mayor Adams, that's what you get when you buck dance for Zaddy. And in Chicago, did they come and pick up those illegal immigrants that they dropped off in the Black community and how Mayor Lightfoot at the time and now the new mayor is asking for millions upon millions of dollars. How do you think Mayor Lightfoot only did one term? Because of support for illegal immigration and undermining the black community, which she hasn't shown any support or given any money to support the resources and the community activities within those areas. No, she got booted out, and this mayor is on his way out as well. But here's the thing, stop voting for goddamn candidates that tell you exactly what they're not going to do for you. Stop voting for them. Stop voting for them. Because you see these white rich people in Martha's Vineyard, you see where these illegal immigrants went to, the military base.
Their trek off the island by ferry, where we met 28-year-old Eliezer Perche, who came from Venezuela with his parents. Perche says he's hoping to find some work and a better life for his family. They'll temporarily live dormitory.
You know what? When I hear some of the stories from the illegal immigrants, okay, these are Homo sapiens, these are human beings, these are people, and I understand why they're coming to America. But family, we have been aggrieved, we've been oppressed, suppressed for such a long time. The only thing I can truly focus on is our people. And when I hear their stories, I think about us. He was like, you know, I just want to get a job and help and support for my family. How many black people have you heard that? Black women and black men alike. I just want a job that can, you know, give me some sort of dignity where I can provide for my family. How many times have you heard us say this? But it's amazing to me how there's millions upon millions upon millions upon dollars that they have for them. And the only thing they have for us is smoke. That's all I'm stating.
Style at a military base on Cape Cod, which has been set up as an emergency shelter, all organized by Massachusetts Republican Governor Charlie Baker. Last night, President Biden criticized the Republican governors of Florida, Texas, and Arizona, who've sent nearly 13,000 migrants to Democratic strongholds in the past 5 months.
Instead of working with us on solutions, Republicans are playing politics with human beings, using them as props.
If you're tired of Joe Biden, raise your hand. If you was tired of Biden under Obama and you was tired of Obama his second term, raise your hand. If you're tired of the political system in America, raise your hand. I see you, Yo-Yo the Queen. I see you. I just have so much to get out here because the undermining of foundational black Americans is atrocious. I mean, it's... Okay, I'll just get to the meat and potatoes of it all.
Looking at the numbers coming out of City Hall and the state of Illinois, upwards of $150 million roughly for 6 months. We believe that that $150 million would have been in some way eligible to come into our communities to help our crime problems, help with our economic problems, help with our housing issues. And as we all aware, black people are the largest number of homeless in Chicago. So if you're gonna help anyone, help the current black homeless first.
I couldn't say it better than this gentleman here. $150 million. You have a very systemic amount, okay, a very large amount of homeless black people in Chicago. And he is basically stating, what about helping them first before you help other people with the money that all of a sudden you guys are now receiving? That's what he's saying.
Black homeless first.
Let me back up a little
homeless
bit.
in Chicago. So if you're going to help anyone, help the current black homeless first.
Let me go back to some of the points he made.
And as we all aware, black people are the largest number of homeless in Chicago. So if you're going to help anyone, help the current black homeless first.
No arguments there. I see we have Trillionaire, we have Yo-Yo the Queen, we got Peace Lily, Jay the Informant, Jermaine Anderson. Thank you for moderating, sir. So let's see here. Queen says the rice, the butter, or Reagan cheese. Democrats is mad at Cornel West. He's going to take votes from Biden. Good. It's called woke. Tether Mayor Adams should be recalled and deported. These people are not our problem. It's undermining FBAs. I agree 1,000%. Trillionaire. Send them illegal immigrants to Joe State, Delaware. Exactly. Send them there. Or send them home, goddammit. Let me move on, though. There's a lot to cover here.
Residents from the Dunning community all voicing their opinions about this move tonight. At times there was booing, at other times there was clapping. The meeting unfolded in the space where the asylum seekers would temporarily call home. The room was filled to capacity at one point. Chicago residents making their voices heard.
You can be compassionate, but you can't be foolish.
As more than 8,000 migrants have arrived in Chicago since August of 2022, and that number is still going up as Chicago tries to deal with the crisis. On the table is the plan to house them here at Wilbur Wright College. Many asking the question about the city's plans moving forward. What are you going to do? Some on the Northwest side support it.
We've all struggled.
Have you noticed? Is it me or is there a lot of the white citizens now speaking out? Wait a minute. Did they run out of room in the black areas and now the white people are coming out and supporting anti-illegal immigration?
Along the way and needed help. Every one of us. It's time to pay it forward. These are people. They're not political pawns.
And many others don't.
We're inviting in like a magnet. Everybody come here, collect all your freebies. We're going to give it to you. Every sucker in here is going to pay for it.
Who's paying? They pissed off. Let me tell you something. When black people get up to speak, and from any political council or state, whatever, right? Majority of us, not all, majority of us are very eloquent, intelligent. We have our talking points. We have, some evoking information we want to, give out to the council, whatever, right? When white people get here, they go buck ass wild. They're like, hey, listen, every sucker in here gonna pay for it with your tax dollars. Yeah, this come to America. We got plenty of room, plenty of money, plenty of jobs. That's what he's basically saying, family.
Nobody wants the answer.
400 migrants would be housed at the college during the summer months.
Hold on, let me go back to that one guy.
We're going to give it to you. Every sucker in here is going to pay for it.
Who's paying? I'm sorry. It's just funny. Now people are going to start to pay attention because far too long, family, we have been voting for the Democratic Party and not listening to what they're not going to do for us. Rather, them using symbolizing factors, symbolizing figures, and putting them in positions of low-level value to the black American family. Because when you look at this, right, one of the primary concerns raised by black Americans is we're not going to receive any increase in economics when it comes to the competition that may derive from immigrants and black Americans, because there is no competition. We understand that the farming jobs, we understand that the construction jobs, we understand that a lot of jobs within the medical and hospital areas are going to be given solely to illegal immigrants. Because Biden's push for comprehensive immigration reform, which includes, paths to citizenships for illegal immigrants. And this is a valid worry that an influx of newly legalized immigrants could lead to more black people being pushed out of middle to high skilled jobs within the job industry. And you think that there are issues arriving in Chicago and New York because illegal immigrants are literally taking up the resources as well as millions of dollars. This could potentially exacerbate the already existing unemployment and underemployment that challenges black Americans today. Because again, when we look at labor resulting increased immigration that may lead to wage suppressions for black Americans because the illegal immigrants are going to take a lower pay. That could further impact economic prospects that black workers would get into particular sectors and jobs. That's going to diminish. And businessmen, they're going to have a larger pool of potential employees to choose from that may have less incentives to offer higher wages and benefits to attract and retain workers. Because in America, we have this in every state, minimum wage, that illegal immigrants are taking half of what's minimum wage in that particular state. This dynamic could disproportionately affect and has affected and will further affect Black Americans. That's what it would do. So hopefully we are understanding and hopefully we're listening.
Nobody wants the answer.
400 migrants would be housed at the college during the summer months from June 1st to August 1st. Classes would resume. Some question policing of the temporary shelter moving forward.
The police department is going to make frequent visits here, which means if they're making frequent visits here, they're not out there.
There's plenty of resources.
Lies upon lies. Let's move on, family, because they're using all the resources in America, New York, Chicago, to house these illegal immigrants rather than supporting the constitutional law and understanding that these are not quote unquote asylum seekers, just people running from one country to another country because of their governments not supporting them. It states here, a majority of New York State voters oppose temporarily housing migrants in dorms on State University of New York. Of course, the poll released on Wednesday found that 54% of voters opposed to the idea, while 33% support it.
Thousands of asylum seekers have been bussed into New York City and simply dropped off without notice, coordination, or care. And more are arriving every day. This crisis is not of our own making, but one that will affect everyone in this city now and in the months ahead.
Now people that just came over, no offense to them, but there are people that are born here that needs help here, and we're not even helping our people.
I've not seen any of them or actually seen where it is, so there's no change in that regard.
You have more activity with police. You have more MTA bus never used to come through here, so now you have MTA bus coming in and out, and you have bus loads of people.
And they come here being shipped around and being pawned, and now we treat them like this.
So a lot of people thought that the residents of Chicago just were speaking out, but there are a lot of New York residents speaking out against illegal immigration and the busing of illegal immigrants to their cities and to their states. But that has been the agenda of Joe Biden for such a long time. And I think that when you do research on these things, that we have forgotten what Joe Biden has said. We have forgotten what Joe Biden has done, okay? So let me pop this up for you.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, since I haven't spoken on this.
Hold up, family. Give me 1 second here. Let me try this one more time here.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people who come here have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away and not provide every opportunity for them is not only stupid and immoral, but it's bad for America. They are the future of America, and we should invest in them. Everybody will benefit from it, every single American. And
Absolutely false. He said that every single American will benefit from illegal immigrants coming to this country. And again, I must point out, family, that the question was, Senator Joe Biden, Do you support reparations for the American descendants of slaves? Let's look at it one more time.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, let me, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single continent. The people.
So this guy went from a question that was asked about does he support reparations to immigrations. And I think that's enough that I should really cover on that, because if we're not remembering and we're not recalling how Joe Biden approached reparations, he didn't even deflect. He didn't even deflect from the question. He ignored the question and just started speaking about immigration. And guess what? He is following through with his words. No presidential candidate came online and said, I am for reparations for the most aggrieved group in America, foundational Black Americans, those U.S. freedmen. But he's showing you right here that he's for what he spoke about such a long time ago.
Have determination, resilience. They are ready to stand up and work like the devil. We have 24 out of every 100 children in our school today is Hispanic. The idea that we are going to walk away.
I don't think I really need to show that anymore. Because if you guys are not understanding what Joe Biden is on and continue to go out and vote because you are a Democrat. And I said this before. Black folk, we're not any political party. We're not. There's no political party that is for us. We're not Democrats, we're not Republicans, and we're not independents. We just have to go with the best candidate that's going to give us what this country owed was, just like the Native Americans, just like the Asian community, just like the LGBT community. They've been highly supported and funded by the Democratic Party. And guess what? About 40% of Asian Americans didn't even vote Democrat, let alone some of them didn't even vote because they have illegal immigrants here as well. They would have you to believe that majority of the illegal immigrants, well, majority of them are from those South American, Central America countries, but there's a large population of illegal Asians as well. But we're talking about the protections that the federal government has provided for them. Then you know where I stand. Let me move on here to good old Cornel West, our dear brother.
Corporate wing of the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party is so tied to Wall Street, it's so tied to the Pentagon, that I thought it very important to build on the...
So if you notice, he started off stating how the Democratic Party is so tied to corporate America and so tied to Wall Street. Now, this is Cornel West. He's been supporting the Democratic Party for quite some time. He even supported Bernie Sanders, I believe, 2016 presidential run, as well as the 2020 presidential run. Now he's speaking out against the Democratic Party. And this is information that he already knew, right? He's one of those very fun-loving, world perspective intellectuals. And he is a presidential candidate for everybody. Not just Democrats, not just Republicans, not just independents, not just the Green Party, but for all Americans. But here's my thing. Is Cornel West the presidential candidate for Black Americans? Is he going to be the one that sounds reparation through executive order, reparation and legislation in a bill? Is he going to be the one? I'll let you judge it for yourself.
Rich legacy that is shaped and molded
Fair
me.
use,
not
fair
just
use.
the West family, not just Shiloh Baptist Church on the chocolate side of Sacramento, but the legacies of Martin Luther King Jr. and Rabbi Heschel and Edward Said and Dorothy Day and Grace Lee Boggs. So it's this legacy spills over now into electoral politics, because I'm thoroughly convinced, my dear sister, that the two-party system stands in the way for the empowerment of precious poor people and precious working people. And I am fundamentally committed to the plight of the least of these, not just here and around the world. I'm against the militarism abroad. I'm against the organized greed. I'm against the routinized indifference to the vulnerable, no matter what color they are, no matter what gender, no matter what sexual orientation.
Dr. West, I know you support drawing this Ukraine conflict to a close. And just tonight, the Washington Post is reporting that the Biden administration is giving backing to a plan that would remove barriers to Ukraine's entry into NATO without setting a timeline for its admission. So the Democrat Party is obviously all in, as are many Republicans, not Donald Trump. I don't think Ron DeSantis, but pretty much all the other Republicans are for the U.S. being on the hook for perpetually defending Ukraine from the aggression of any other country. Why is that interventionism, let's focus on the Democrat Party, at the cornerstone now of who they are really in foreign policy? How did that happen and why?
Well, I mean, the Democratic Party has a long history of being committed to wars. Look at, you can go back all the way to Vietnam. But unfortunately, we have to tell the truth. NATO, the promise would be that NATO would not move 1 inch against or toward Russian territory. A few years later, 14 former Soviet countries part of NATO. So that you can imagine any empire, the American empire, the most powerful, and it's, you know the history of invasion and occupation, but you would probably agree that if there were Russian missiles in Mexico, Russian missiles in Canada, it would be blown to smithereens very, very quickly. Why? Because empires behave that way. Now, if you're a radical Democrat, you have a critique of the imperial overlay of your country. That includes organized greed at the top with Wall Street, and it includes the war profiteers.
I would say
one of the major drawbacks of Cornel West's candidacy is his limited political experience. While his intellectual contributions are commendable, the world of politics requires a nuanced understanding of governance, Mr. West, legislation, Mr. West, and the complexities of policy making. Because Cornel West lacks of practical experience in navigating the political landscape, it raises doubts about his ability to effectively implement policies that are multifaceted issues facing our Black American family. Because we have to understand, throughout his career, he's been known for his confrontational and diverse rhetoric. While passionate discourse is important in addressing social injustices, family, effective leadership requires the ability to build coalitions and foster collaboration. West's tendencies to engage in divisive language may hinder his ability to work with diverse groups and stakeholders to achieve meaningful progress. Because when I look at Cornel West, and someone had a gun to my head, and they gave me 3 choices: Cornel West, Joe Biden, or Black empowerment. Which one of you guys I'm thinking? Which option you guys think I'm going to take? Black empowerment. Because at the end of the day, if you solely had to make a choice, and I say this with a heavy heart, if you just can't go without voting, I guess you would just vote for Cornel West, because I'm definitely not supporting good old Joe.
Cornel?
I'm in solidarity with the suffering of the Ukrainian people, but we've got to bring that war to a stop, cease fire, and then proceed diplomatically and transfer some of those funds from the military to investment in jobs and health care and quality education and decent homes.
Dr. West, one thing I'm very curious about, because on these seminal issues, like you and I disagree on a lot, but you and I actually agree on a lot. On the surveillance state, on the perpetual war, on the Wall Street influence in politics. We agree on a lot of things. To me, it seems like you're closer in many ways.
And here it is. If you notice what she said, we agree on a lot of things. And Cornel West was like, yup, we sure do. That's not the end of it.
To populist conservatives on those types of issues than you are the modern Democrat Party. And I know you're running as a Green, but can't you tonight say that Donald Trump did more for African Americans in the inner city, with increased real median income, increased entrepreneurial opportunities, criminal justice reform, all the things that he did when he was president, given all the investigations, all the stuff that was happening. Can't you recognize that he actually was doing his best at the time to stand up for disenfranchised people with an economy that was actually growing for the first time? For real median income was growing for all demographic groups.
But you have to acknowledge that the grotesque wealth inequality was increasing even as those low unemployment rates were in place. Now, I give him credit for the low unemployment rates, but the problem with Brother Trump, and it's very important to keep in mind, we got to do away with all this hatred and revenge. I don't hate Brother Trump. I hate the lies, and I hate the gangster activity, and I hate the kind of neo-fascist language he uses. When he trashes Muslims, when he trashes, calling black folk, football players, sons of B-I-T-C-A. No, his language is neo-fascist, and he was still tied to big military, still allowing Wall Street to get away. That's where you and I would disagree. That's where we disagree.
Yeah,
but I'll say this.
But the left is targeted
I don't hate
now.
Biden, but I hate Biden's hypocrisy.
Well, I know,
hate his neoliberal policies.
Yeah, but the surveillance state that you and I think a lot of conservatives have grown incredibly mistrustful of, and the outsized influence of the Pentagon, they were all turned against Trump. So you have to acknowledge that. Milley, the whole Milley apparatus, they were all against Trump. All of them. Why were they against Trump if he was a big threat?
It's because that neoliberal apparatus wanted to retain its status, and Trump came in as a critic from the right wing.
Right.
And that's where the neo-fascism comes in, by trashing the immigrants, trashing too many precious gay brothers and lesbian sisters and so forth.
I know that's your line,
he didn't
but
say too many nice things. He didn't say too many nice things about my and even the people to support. But I can tell you this, as a presidential candidate, I'm going straight into Brother Trump's country, and I'm going to tell the brothers and sisters of all colors, I want you not to scapegoat the most vulnerable. I want you to confront the most powerful. That's Wall Street. That's Silicon Valley. That's the war profiteers of Pentagon.
Yeah.
That's where I think we need to go.
Cornel West, that doesn't feed anybody. It sounds good. And I've been looking at and examining a lot of Cornel West interviews. Believe it or not, Cornel West will far better in the conservative party, the Republican Party. Now, a lot of you may tend to disagree on this. A lot of you may just go crazy from what I'm about to say, because I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, and I'm not independent. I'm just a black person. But when we look at the views of black Americans and you ask them a series of questions, you're going to start to understand how your views are more conservative than they are liberal. And when we turn those into political parties, liberal meaning Democrat, conservative meaning Republican. It doesn't mean that you agree with the Republican Party that is in position now, or the other, or the opposite of that, the Democratic Party, which is in power right now. What it means is black Americans believe, majority of us, in a nuclear family. Mother, father, child. We believe in securing the borders of America to increase opportunities of our people. We believe in empowering and employing our people and putting them back to work to have a better black American family, let alone a better America. Because this is the country that our ancestors died for, built, and fought for in wars of America, as well as foreign wars for America. That is why.
They're going to hate you. They're going to hate you, and they're going to hate Trump.
I welcome their
I think
hostility, because as
I want to ask you.
Yes,
I want to ask you about an open border. I mean, take it away from Trump. The border is essentially open today. If you want to come into the country, you can come in, which the liberals have all said they're always for. They like the idea of an open border. Do you think an open border has helped the plight of African Americans in cities like Chicago, in New York, St. Louis, Baltimore, Oakland, San Francisco? Has it helped their standard of living?
Well, I mean, one is that you first always have to begin at the top. You have to look at the ways in which the business people and the property owners bring in cheap labor in order to keep the wages low. That's why I support not just trade union movements. That's why I support the various strikes that's on the way this summer.
There's really no candidate for us right now, family. Like I told you, if you want to vote for the lesser of two evils, then definitely vote for Cornel West. But I mean, I have to rewind it because basically he's stating the reason why we have affordable living in America is because of illegal immigration. Because those illegal immigrants are not getting paid. They're not getting paid minimum wage. They're probably getting paid less than minimum wage on some accounts, unless they're skilled laborers, right? But here's the thing. He's not going to address, and I haven't seen this. A lot of times I like to pop up videos that I really haven't seen before so I can give you natural, unadulterated commentary. But I wonder if he's going to bring up the unemployment rate of Black Americans as well as the homeless rate of Black Americans. Both of those are tied in because guess what can easily occur? If you are unemployed, it's likely and there's a good chance you can become homeless. So when you're saying that, oh, these developers and these community builders are bringing in low-income wage workers, illegal immigrants, that lowers the cost of living. Well, how can I live in these low-wage areas if I don't have a job, if I'm homeless? Let me just back that up, and I'm going to have him finish his point. I'm going to at least try to have him finish his point.
Top. You have to look at the ways in which the business people and the property owners bring in cheap labor in order to keep the wages low. That's why I support not just trade union movements. That's why I support the various strikes that's on the way this summer to make sure working people gain concessions because
you sound
those
like
at the
Ron
top
DeSantis.
seem to be so greedy. They
That's
seem to be
what
so
Ron
greedy.
DeSantis says.
No, but
Yeah.
no. But the problem with
Yeah.
DeSantis is he's got the
He says
xenophobic.
they're trying to lower
he's got
wages,
the xenophobic
Cornel.
dimension to it. I want the.
You see what I'm talking about now? She is pointing out that Cornel West is actually conservative. And the only thing Cornel West has to combat what Laura Ingraham is saying is that I'm not xenophobic like Ron DeSantis. It doesn't matter. Your views are the same. Just running the conservative ticket. But he's afraid of that. He's afraid of that because on one hand, the Democrats like, oh, you're going to take away Democratic votes because you're running this third party, Green Party, People's Party thing, which is basically another hybrid office of the Democratic Party. And he's not going to run Republican because he knows a lot of Black people are going to turn away. This is just all political. At the end of the day, you see, family, he has a lot of conservative views. On one hand, he already talked about the Democratic Party and their corporate ties. But at the end of the day, his concentration or even part of his presidential run is not for Black America because everybody is his dear brother and his dear sister and the precious people that, again, I'm not speaking down towards Cornel West. I believe he's one of the most intelligent men on this earth. I'm absolutely glad that this brother is intelligent and Black. But again, I do not see a Black agenda in any of his interviews, on any of his on his website, on any of the above. I just don't see it. So if you want to vote for the lesser of two evil, there you go.
Immigrants and the workers of all colors to come together against the bosses. DeSantis still has too much xenophobia for me. And that's a radical difference between right-wing populists and highly left-oriented people in love with poor and working people, no matter what color.
Cornel, I think that, and may I call you Cornel? I always call you Dr. White. Cornel,
oh, absolutely,
Dr.
absolutely, my dear, absolutely.
Do you think there are ways for the left-wing populists and the right-wing or conservative populists can work together on these issues, where there is common ground, whether it's on the war front or
there's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. My dear brother Clifton West has said that what we need is a paradigm shift in politics. What we need is an ideological realignment of the landscape. And what that means with those who have critiques of predatory capitalist processes, those who have critiques of white supremacy, you and I are going to fight on the vicious legacy of white supremacy, because the racism is still operating, not as intense as it was 75 years ago, but it's still there in so many different ways. I think of what's happening right now with my two dear brothers in Mississippi. So we have to, but also, I don't downplay the vicious attacks on my gay brothers and lesbian sisters and trans, and the defense of women and women having.
Cornel West, the LGBT community has protections in federal law where Black Americans don't. You see how he says white supremacy, he says racism. I think eventually he will bring up Black people when it comes to racism and discrimination, but he definitely pointed out LGBTQ. Now, these are the democratic views that Cornel West has, especially that the LGBT community already has protections under the law.
Control over their bodies and reproductive rights.
Do you think,
at that point,
you know what I don't
see,
know your view on, Cornel, is your view on trans athletes in women's sports, because you are a big champion of women. We disagree on the abortion issue, but you are a big champion of women,
right,
and I appreciate that. I was a female athlete, my day, ages ago. But
definitely.
What about that?
Yes.
Do you think trans men who are biological men should, be in the Wimbledon finals?
You know, I mean, I am committed to the dignity of precious trans folk because they're so vulnerable, and I just hate to see
women
them
don't have a shot,
assaulted
then.
and attacked. But I'm also willing to learn and listen in the argument, because I think it depends on case to case and context to context. I just want to make sure that the most vulnerable are never, ever
Women are
trashed.
vulnerable. Yeah, women are vulnerable.
If you notice, Cornel West never really answered the question, and this is what I hate about these goddamn politicians. She basically asked him, should trans men, be able to play in Wilmington in the females competition? And just like any other goddamn politician, he totally deflected from what she was saying. I just get so goddamn tired of these politicians.
If they're competing against men in most sports. All right, Dr. West, come back. It's great to have.
But that's another issue. But
anyway, guys, Cornel West, good luck with that. I'm back on Joe Biden because I really don't think that Cornel West is going to really have a chance. Again, for my family, if a gun was pointed to my head, just for my family, and I only had a choice between Cornel West and Joe Biden, I will vote for the lesser of two evils. It would be Cornel West. New California law allows non-U.S. citizens to become police officers, including a 2023 law that changed the qualification to become a police officer in California. Yeah, that's the way I like it. You know how a lot of times people tell you that illegal immigrants are doing the jobs that Black Americans or Americans don't want to do? That's a lie. They're throughout the course of time, there have been largely Black farmers as well as Black construction workers. And this statistical report, unfortunately, is very old. It's from 2014 because these numbers have increased anywhere from 15 to 25% because of the influx of illegal immigrants. And believe it or not, family, we used to be the farmers of America until we was pushed out by the white working class by the way of illegal immigration when we speak about current day, as well as construction. Back in the, I want to get the timeline right. I want to say early 1900s, late 1800s. Did you know in grade school that they had courses that you could take and come out as a skilled laborer, like a carpenter, a roofer, a welder, jobs like that, where you didn't have to go to college. You didn't have to take a trade. Those programs was funded by the government and or your state government, but they were in schools. And a lot of those jobs went to Black Americans. But through racism, Reconstruction, and now illegal immigration, they always have something new to oppress and suppress Black people from actually decreasing the wage gap for ourselves, right? Think about it. You had Homestead, where some, very few Black Americans received land, and then that land was revoked by the federal government and taken back from them. Then you had redlining that destroyed Black prominent communities that had these Black Wall Streets that we created from the ground up. And that's called pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, right? Where did they go? Now we have gentrification. Now we have illegal immigration and buffering them in to naturalize them as a new voting base, either for the Republican or the Democratic Party, but it's more so a Democratic agenda because they're tired of depending on Black folk for the vote. Because they're like, a lot of you Black people come in woke, a lot of you starting to be awake, and we can't depend on the Black vote anymore. So 2024 is going to be the last time I believe that the Democratic Party are going to depend on the Black vote. Some of you may disagree. Some of you may disagree. Because believe it or not, Cornel West, he has progressive ideas that may resonate with many of us, translating those ideas into concrete policies that can be implemented and sustained, believe it or not, because of his non-political background. Yeah, he's been around politics. I don't know if this is what you can consider a complex task for him. Because successful leadership often requires balancing idealism with pragmatism, right? Finding common ground, making incremental progress toward long-term goals. So when I look at his approach, I just don't see how he can make a difference. Now, going back to undocumented immigrants, I want to show you guys some things because I really need to inform and educate some of these Biden voters. Undocumented and undocumented means illegal. Illegal immigrants make up approximately 3.2% of the U.S. population, but 4.4% of the country's workforce. That's interesting numbers. There are more than 7 million illegal immigrants work in the United States of America. In 41 states in Washington, D.C., there are more than 10,000 undocumented workers. And in 16 states, the total is greater than 100,000. In every state, illegal immigrants make up a larger share of the workforce than they do the total population. That means that they're getting majority of the jobs that we will be working. And a lot of people are like, man, there's no Black American out there in the farms picking fruit. You mean to tell me if you was on the verge of being homeless and you was getting paid, let's say $15 an hour, you wouldn't go out into the fields and pick a couple of oranges, strawberries for 8 to 10 hours a day with a little sun hat on with a cool on your back? I know I would. I know I fucking would. I sure be out there sweating my ass off, making that money, starting from somewhere, ended up in a better place. See, this is what I hate because this is the narrative. They get a couple of Black people, they put them on news, and they say, well, yeah, they are doing the jobs that I really wouldn't do. But what do you do now? Oh, I went to Brown. I went to Yale. Yeah, ask that brother who's looking for a job. Because I remember growing up in Southeast D.C., living in the group homes, I started working for Mayflower unofficially. I was working for some subcontracting company. I was around around 20 years of age. And I was a furniture moving. Do you know how hard it is to be a furniture mover? Do you know how hard that is? I have dressers and I have fucking chest on my back with a hump strap walking up and down stairs. And majority of these people I was working for are white people. moving them in and out of these big-ass homes in Virginia and Fairfax and so forth and so on. So when people talk about that black Americans are going to do these jobs, yes, we have, and yes, we will, especially the construction jobs, because construction jobs are going to pay more than the farming jobs. So I don't like this, because nowadays when I see furniture movers, I'm looking at majority of the furniture movers are black and Hispanic. I rarely see white furniture movers. I know there are some. I've seen a couple, but majority that I've seen, whether it be this neighborhood, my last neighborhood, the last neighborhood before that, or majority black and Hispanic. I'm just stating, if we didn't have illegal immigration at the rate and percentage that we have now, could there be more black people with jobs? California and Texas are home to the largest undocumented workforce with 1.4 million and 1.2 million illegal workers, respectively. More than 1.4 million illegal immigrants work in construction. 1 million of them work in construction. And when you look at more than 50% of black Americans are homeless in this country. Out of the million, right? They're saying 500,000, but some reports from Pew Research are stating 1 million. But they're saying that there's like roughly 1 million people are homeless in this country. Roughly, then there's a large percentage of people that are unemployed. And some of them are receiving unemployment assistance from their state, and some of them are not. But my ploy here is, if you have 1.4 million illegal immigrants working in construction, and you have over 50% of the homeless people that are black Americans, my only question is, and again, this is arbitrary at best, how many of them will be working in construction if the market numbers don't match the amount of work that America wants to grow at the rate of infrastructure building? Right? Building new communities, hospitals, dental offices, so on, and schools and so forth. That's the only question I have. How many more of our people would be employed if it wasn't for illegal immigration, especially like states in California and Texas, where the illegal immigration is 1.4 or 1.2 respectively? Because it states here that 1.4 million illegal immigrants work in construction and account for 13% of all construction workers. Nearly 1 million illegal immigrants work in accommodation and food services. Approximately 8.4% of all workers work in that industry. 710,000 illegal workers make up 10% of the administrative support and waste management industries. You guys remember living back in low impoverished black neighborhoods where the garbage man was black? Is your garbage man now Hispanic? Is your garbage man now Hispanic? Are you saying that black people are now saying they don't want to drive in trucks and pick up your trash can and dump it? It is not like, I think in New York, they still hang on to the garbage truck and they jump off and dump it. I think I saw that somewhere. But like in my neighborhood, these guys don't get out the truck. They drive the truck, they got the two arms, they pick it up, they dump it. That's it. That's all they doing. You don't think black people would do that? Shit. Yeah, I'm on one today. You crazy. I would do that job, man. You press a little button, little control arm, dump the trash. You don't even get dirty anymore. These drivers around here, they'll dump the trash. Something will fall out on the ground. They don't care. They got a schedule. They got a quota. They got to finish this neighborhood at this time to move on to the next neighborhood. They're not getting up, picking up no trash. Man, please. It doesn't matter if it's the regular waste management or the recycle. None of them get out their truck. There's one exception. They call it bulk pickup. Them are the only guys that actually get out and pick up the trash and put it in the back. They're the only ones. Bulk pickup. That's it. Recycle, regular trash. Oh, yeah, they just. We ain't getting out there. It's hot. Right now in Texas, it's 92 degrees. With humidity, it is 103, by the way. Let's stay here. Let's see. Yeah. Undocumented workers are in administrative and support, right? They say 710,000 illegal workers make up 10% of the administrative and support waste management industry. 489,000 illegal workers in non-public administrative services are also overrepresented in this field. Does that look like and sound like farms to you? No, it does not. Those sound like clerical jobs. Non-public administration services. People answering the phone. People typing up reports. People printing stuff. Does that sound like they're, whoo, oh my Lord, Lord? No, they're not. They're not in the field sweating. They're not. They're saying over 500,000 of them, right? Almost 500,000 of them, family, are in administration services, and that they are overrepresented in the field. 25% of workers in farming, fishing, and forestry occupations are undocumented. Now, there's a lot of black people that love like the whole nature and earth. They get their herbs and spices. I would like to believe, and you know, your uncle, your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, and some of your grandparents, they love fishing. They would love to be a fish warden. They would love to go out there and walk in the forest and like, oh, I think this is a maple tree. These are the jobs that we used to have that illegal immigration have taken, but they keep telling you, oh yeah, you guys don't want to go out into the fields in Florida and all these other states at 110 degrees weather and pick fruit. It's more than just fruit. It's more than just farming. It's administration jobs, fishing jobs, forestry jobs, construction jobs, so on and so forth. 7% of the workforce in food preparation, serve-related occupations are illegal workers. Landscaping, agriculture. 5 million, nearly 3 in 4 illegal immigrants in the workforce are considered essential workers according to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. An estimated 1.7 million work in the nation's food supply chain. Who wants to work in logistics? Who wants to work in logistics? And I'm not just talking about Amazon. I'm not just talking about FedEx. I'm not just talking about UPS. No. DHL. I'm not just talking about those. Who is okay starting off, if you don't have a job, making $15 to $20 an hour in food supply chain? Maybe you work in the warehouse, working a forklift. That's a skill. Stacking up warehouses and things of that nature. Who wants that job? If you're unemployed, living with somebody you don't want to live with, barely make it, who wants that job? I know I would want that job. Most warehouses, not all, are air conditioning. They got the good old air con in there, air conditioning, air con. Who would want that job? Because that's what they're working at. 358,000 farm workers and food processors to 154,000 working in supermarkets, grocery stores, and convenience stores. Let me tell you about grocery stores. My son in the D.C. area works at a grocery store. He's a college graduate. He has a 4-year college degree. He has a bachelor's degree. And he's working in a grocery store. So don't tell me that black folk don't want these jobs. Don't lie to me. And see, that's the thing about some of you black folk, not you guys who watching. I know these are not, I know what I'm talking about is not you guys. You keep allowing these damn politicians, especially on the Democratic side, to tell you that these are the jobs that you won't work, that you don't want. If that's what's available, then yes, I need to feed myself and I need to feed my family if you have one. These are the jobs that we want. Shit, I'll make it even clearer for you. Yeah. We may not want these jobs, but we need these jobs. We can't have these jobs because you keep hiring illegal immigrants at half the price. We know that these jobs are a minimum wage. Yeah, we know we're only going to make $15 an hour. We know we're only going to make $12 an hour. But if I do overtime, right, because Mike can't come in today. Mike, I'll take your shift. That's time and a half, is it not? Man, I just plussed up, did I not? Yeah, Keisha, you can't come in? Well, shit, I was going to take my girl out. You know what? I'll take your shift. That's time and a half. Sometimes you're just taking somebody's shift, but sometimes it's time and a half. Hey, we don't have nobody to work this day. Anybody volunteer? Hey, boss, is that overtime? Oh yeah, it's overtime. I got it. They keep telling us we don't want these jobs. 15,000 registered nurses and licensed practitioner nurses. It states here that nearly 236,000 illegal immigrants are working as healthcare providers. Where my wife at? Babe, you on? Is my wife? My wife is a nurse. Somebody tell my wife that they have illegal immigrants working as registered nurses and licensed practical nurses. She will probably lose her damn mind. My wife worked very hard to become a nurse. And look, first she had to be a damn citizen. And you're going to tell her that you don't have to be a citizen to be a nurse. Wow. 19,000 lab and diagnostic technician, 139,000 home health aides, nursing assistants, and personal care aides. There's two types of people that I usually see in the home health aides, the nursing assistants, and personal care aides. I usually see Black, African, and Caribbean immigrants and Hispanic folk doing those jobs, those who assist the elderly in their greater years. It also states here that another 188,000 illegal immigrants are working in healthcare settings such as custodians, food servers, and administrative workers to keep hospital, nursing homes, and labs functioning. So when we talk about these jobs, stop lying to us. Excuse me, I almost hit the wrong button. Stop lying to us and telling us it's just farming jobs. No. It's much more than farming jobs. It's much more than farming jobs. Let me see what you guys are saying. We have Trillionaire. Yo-Yo says, I'm telling you, I'm not voting for my brother West. I understand. Believe it or not, I understand. Trillionaire said he gave a long, drawn-out answer. Indeed, he did. Coco L says, what a joke. I hope he hears himself and understands how this interview really made him look. It made him look conservative, which I already knew. I've seen plenty of views by him, okay? But then again, it's kind of like the take of our brother Marcel Dixon. They have very conservative views, which is not bad for us. Again, this is not bad for Black Americans for them to have conservative views, but to have a non-Black agenda is. Because if every group in America is receiving something from this American government and you being a Black candidate speaks to the volumes that why should a white candidate, why should a non-Black candidate do something for Black America if a Black American candidate can't even do nothing for his own people? And that's why I rock with people like Marcel Dixon. Because he may have conservative views running on a Democratic ticket, but he has a Black agenda. And his Black agenda is to repair America, is to repair Black America. I probably mixed up his slogan, but that's the gist of it. Coco L says, I have a degree, certification, and hard skills, and it's hard for us now. Indeed, it is. Guess who got subcontracting jobs to they won't hire Black men either? No, they will not. Thank you, Trillionaire. I appreciate that. It is what I see. I live in Top Construction City. For years, it's been quite going on. I saw a site the other day. There were only 2 white men. And those 2 white men, they were the site facilitator and the site manager. Those 2 white men were, or the project manager, rather. Yo-Yo said, that's why Brandon said y'all gonna have to get along with the Hispanics. Exactly. Yes, it's been a quiet takeover. It hasn't been quiet, in my opinion, brother. Brother, it has not been quiet, in my opinion. Those caravans has been hitting America since 2019, slowed down a little bit in 2020, and picked right back up in 2021. We allowed ourselves to become divided. I can agree to that. Most of us don't have a clue about what you're talking about. You know why? Because during these live broadcasts or my pre-recorded broadcasts, guess what I'm not offering? Fish fry. That's why. That's why people don't understand what I'm saying. That's why people don't understand people like Afro Elite, people like Torian Rain Reloaded, people like Jason Black with the Black Authority, Tariq Nasheed, Philip Scott, so on and so forth. All these people within the Black empowerment space. The reason why Black people do not understand us is because we're not giving out a fish fry. That's why people keep voting for these Democratic shields, these Democratic tap toys, these people who they put in front of us and say, look, we got a Black candidate. Black people come out and vote. And that's why Michelle Obama is telling you, well, if you don't vote, you don't have a voice. When they go low, we go high. Barack and Michelle Obama fooled Black people for 8 years. Let me tell you something, family, and I'm going to just be very transparent. I'm going to keep it real, no cap. I voted for Obama twice, and it didn't hit me until 2 years into his second term. I was like, where's his Black agenda at? When he gonna do something that's going, where's the executive orders at for Black folk? What is he gonna do something about this police violence? We're gonna do something about the impoverished Black Americans living below. What are you gonna do about the unemployment rate, being underemployed, so on and so forth? What are you gonna do to help Black Americans out? Yeah, I was a fool for 6 years. You just got to come to grips with, maybe I didn't analyze this right, And here's the thing. It really doesn't have anything to do with your intellectual level. It doesn't. Smart Black people, common sense Black people, and dumbass Black people was fooled by Barack Obama. They was fooled by Joe Biden. But let me tell you something. Do you think I went out and voted for Joe Biden after Barack Obama? Hell to the no. Yeah. You can get a Black man to fool me once. Be like George W. You fooled me once. You can't fool me again. No, you ain't gonna fool me again. No. I got my ears to the street. I'm grassroots. I'm looking at candidates. I'm looking at slogans. I'm looking at what's on your campaign run. What are the headlines? What are the topics? I'm looking at everything. I'm listening to every word you say and every word you don't say. Woo! Yo-Yo says, Michelle and Barry, please go away. Trillionaire says, he had no intentions of doing anything for us. Coco L says, is that a character flaw? And what is it? Maybe we can start to work on it. Well, unfortunately, because of the facts and because of the results, that has been a character flaw for a lot of us, unfortunately. And I will have you guys to do this for me. Do this for the Black American family. You guys, and I hope Ron DeSantis is listening, you guys are woke. I need for you guys to wake up everybody else. A lot of times when we're talking to our kinfolk, our family, our friends, they think we're speaking very biasly. And so if they are a Democrat or Republican, the first thing they want to do is combat you in verbal debate. They want to have this argument. They want to have this debate going back and forth. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't waste your time. The best thing that I've seen and you can ask ladies, your actions speak louder than words. So what you need to do is show them. Show them the videotapes. When Joe Biden said, when they asked him about immigration, when they asked him about, I keep thinking immigration, right? Because that's what he's about. When they asked Joe Biden about reparations.
Vice President Biden, do you support reparations?
Look, let me, since I haven't spoken on this, got a chance. Number one, the reason we're the country we are is because of immigration. We've been able to cherry pick the best from every single
So when they asked Joe Biden about reparations, show them how he talked about immigration and show him how he spoke highly of illegal immigrants as though they were harder workers than Black Americans, so on and so forth. And how he said that's going to benefit all Americans. At the end of that video, Joe Biden stated that it's going to benefit all Americans and that we should get used to it. But then again, when I look at Mayor Adams crying, talking about we're a sanctuary city, oh, we need help from Biden, we need extra money. I thought it was going to benefit all of American, Biden. When you look at Chicago, a lot of those people who are crying out about illegal immigration and how they're dropping off illegal immigrants in their community, how the city has now come up with millions of dollars to renovate buildings, to house them in, give them jobs, give them apartments. They're giving $2,000 per illegal immigrant up in New York so they can rent out apartments, and they're going to help them with work visas and this, that, and the other. I want you to ask some of them same people, as I've been looking at some of the reports, that they was Biden supporters. You did it. We did it to ourselves. We're so damn divided that we don't see the bigger picture. Let me leave you guys with this one last point here, so you guys can understand what Joe Biden has done. Joe Biden has done the exact same thing that slave owners did to the Black American family. They incentivized Black American women by giving them high up job positioning. They incentivized Black American women by keeping them on EBT and welfare to take care of themselves and their children, by emasculating the Black male from the home. See, Joe Biden, for a very long time, he was very instrumental, and he implemented mass incarceration of majority of Black men. So he took the Black male from the home, and then, to this day, he put a large amount of Black women within the presidential cabinet without really putting any Black men to empower Black folk. But again, it didn't empower no one, because this was just straight symbolism. See, they do these things because they know that, unfortunately, a lot of us are not reading the fine print. We want to be entertained. We want to see symbolism. Oh, we tore down the Confederate statues. I don't care about them goddamn Confederate statues. Okay. It's more symbolism, because they know that wasn't going to hurt the system of white supremacy. Tearing down some statues. White supremacy is not just representations of statues in these red states. White supremacy is in the heart. It's in the economics of the country. It's in the very fabric of the country. This country was built on white supremacy by the free labor of our ancestors. So, Black women in the Supreme Court, Black women in the presidential cabinet, that does nothing for the Black people. And see what they did, because they understand that by uplifting the women, they understood that was going to undercut the men, and they started this strife between the two sexes within the Black community, because they understand a house divided amongst themselves will fall. Will fall. They understand this family. See, I believe that white supremacists are evil geniuses. They understand if I wore the black man against the black woman, then they will never be a family. They will never develop a nuclear family. They will never build wealth in this country. So we keep falling for the trick bag. Time and time again, we keep falling term in, term out. We keep falling for the same tricks. Black women, find you an upstanding black male. Find you someone who has ambitions, aspiration, and goals. I don't care if he's working at Burger King, McDonald's. I don't care. You never know what he may end up being. The problem is this socialized, sensationalized social media world has undercut the black community in a major, major way. All of these women, okay, and I don't mean everybody, but all of these women out here are looking for these six-figure men. They're getting to the point where they no longer want just black men. They want every man. I just want a man who makes six figures. They don't even care. They don't care about the core nucleus black family. They don't care. Six figures. That's all they want, 6 figures. Just find you an upstanding black male with a job, with goals, aspirations, and ambitions. That means he's looking to grow. He's building to grow. He's trying to go somewhere. I'm going to say it. Women, men, I'm going to say it. Fellas, find you a feminine, friendly woman who's willing to rock with you and build with you. Why did I say feminine? Just through my own personal experience, the so-called masculine or aggressive females, they really don't coincide and blend well with an alpha male, which mostly black men are. That's just my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents. And that's what white supremacists don't want. They don't want black people to have families. They want us to be divided. Because if they have us divided, they can just pick and choose of what agendas for what divided group they want to adhere to, so they can rape and pillage your vote or your support, or both. Coco L says they go to sleep in the woods to learn what insects do. Yo-Yo says back in the day, we used to say Pittsburgh on one side and Philly on the other side. And between Pennsylvania, we call it Alabama. Biden is from Scranton, PA. Coco L says we used to know that stuff naturally. Now, we all city folk, we don't know a thing off the subway. Trillionaire Super Facts, Coco L, they don't know how hard it is to make money. They just have small jobs and don't get it. They think internet money is the norm. Nope, most women have jobs, regular jobs. They are regular people, and 100,000 is a lot of money. And like I said, leaving you guys with this, this whole fictitious men, no matter the color of the man, no matter the creed, there's not a large population of men making over $100,000. And in today's society with inflation, 100,000 is the old school 50,000. It's just enough depending on where you live. Cost of living matters. If you live in New York, Manhattan, forget about it. If you live in San Diego, San Francisco, LA, forget about it. You need to make a lot more than that. So now you're going to Alabama, Missouri, South Dakota, North Dakota, Wyoming. I don't know black people there, but nonetheless, you'll be okay with 100,000. You'll be good. Your best bet is to become a digital nomad and live in one of those low-income states. That's your best bet. But family, I'm just advocating for black families. I'm not advocating for our sisters, our women out here to look for these fictitious thousand six-figure men, period. But I am advocating that our men team up with our feminine and friendly black sisters out there. And the reason why I say that is because if black men start to date exclusively black, friendly, and feminine women, what do you think are going to happen to those women who we consider masculine and who we consider aggressive? What do you think is going to happen? As Michael Jackson said, make that change. That's what I think is going to happen. I'm going to read some of your notes. I'm going to get out of here. I've been on here way too long. They don't have, they think internet, okay, I read that. We must start investing. Yeah, if you guys know me, this channel used to be Financial Literacy 101, by the way, of Ross World, and now Black Logic. I don't really cover financial investment videos anymore, but as I stated before, I might throw a couple out here and there. But anyway, people have to live where that type of money can be made, agreed. Yo-Yo said yes, agreed. And then Coco L says, are men that disciplined? That is the thing. Are men that disciplined? Are men that disciplined? Are black men that disciplined? Damn it. I got one for you. Got him! Good question. Are black men that disciplined? Man. It's just like anything else. I'm going to use my Democratic, Republican politician answer. Well, it depends. It depends on what demographic of men we're referring to. Yes, there are some. That's all I got, brother. There's some men who are disciplined, especially as we get older, right? We have to, and that's why black men and black women have to be in the same household and not co-parenting. So that child receive the mentorship and the nurturing that it needs. So it recognizes, because I told my son this. My son is 12. I mean, we have sons. The other two sons are grown. One 26 going on 27. The other one 23 going on 24. And we have a 12-year-old. But when it comes to the 12-year-old, when he started really getting around 13, 14, I told him, I have to take you out on dates so you understand how to properly date and vet a woman. So that's why it's important for the nucleus black family to be together, stay together. And that's why it's important for men, right? For men. Because men control access to relationship and women control access to sex. So men, if we stop dating these overly aggressive, masculine, what we consider masculine women, and start to date feminine and friendly women, I just believe maybe not his generation, but the next generation, we're going to start seeing, because the family will be together, we're going to start seeing more feminine women. And guess what? This is another way we can keep our black men out of jail. This is another way that we can have our black men strive something greater than themselves, or being entrepreneurs, or being highly educated and creating their own, so on and so forth. So we have to be in the home to do that. So do some of our men possess the discipline? They do. But again, all of this starts with a black family. We have to have the family in order to nurture, mentor, and educate our black women to be educated, friendly, and feminine, and for our black men to be educated and disciplined. Let's see here. Coco L says they can change women, but are they that disciplined to stick to it? Yes, this is the one key issue. Most don't understand. The black family has lost tradition, and I don't understand the values of the generation or years. Yo-Yo states, wonderful chat, B1. Shalom, and have a blessed day. You too, sister. The younger are ruled by trending social media, so it's a change for me and no tradition. No refutation, man. I have no rebuttals on your account, but you guys have a great day and a happy Friday, and thank you for joining me here today. And again, be contamination. Contaminate those near you so they can wake the hell up and understand the dynamics and the economy of the current country and political climate we live in today.